Hey, y'all, hey, we have a disclaimer. On this episode, we will be talking about meat birds, from chicken to turkey, duck, and even quail. These are our opinions, and we suggest that doing your research for yourself before starting a meat bird flock. Enjoy the show.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Around the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.
Grab a cup of joe and let's gather round that hay bale. With your hosts, Anne from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Sandi from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Here they are. Hey, y'all, hey.
Hey, y'all. Hey, this is Ann from Andale Homestead.
And this is Sandi from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Welcome.
This is Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
And what's up, y'all? It's Cayce over at Ormsby Farms. So, y'all, I'm so excited about this episode. They couldn't get away from us. They had to come back for another episode. We have the Naked Gardeners back, and we are going to dive deep into American Bresse, or American Bresse, or American Brise, or American Bresse without the T. Who knows how to say it? We're going to find out on this episode. But this is the hot topic for meat birds. Well, really dual purpose birds right now is the American Bresse. It's huge in the homesteading community, and we as hosts wanted to jump down and dive deep into this topic. And who better to have than Tori and Sydney from the Naked Gardener. So y'all, welcome back in.
Welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for having
Okay.
us.
So I'm just gonna click on and we're gonna jump right into it because because I looked this up. This is actually Googled 164,000 times every week. It's Cornish cross versus American Bresse. Now we're gonna start off this whole episode Naked Gardeners. Bresse, Brise, Bresse, whatever you want to call it. How do you call these birds?
We call them American Bresse or ABCs. So,
And that was after a lot of research.
yeah, because we were like,
American Bresse
how do you say
Bresse.
this word?
without the T.
Here we go. So American Bresse, y'all. You've heard it now on Round the Hay Bale. This is basically the only place you should listen to anyways. But American Bresse. So they Google Cornish cross versus American Bresse. That's the big hot topic now, and that's what we're going to be discussing. Now, will y'all describe the American Bresse in y'all's opinion on them as a chicken? Describe them as a chicken and describe the differences that y'all have seen from Cornish cross to American Bresse.
I will be the less technical of the two of us because I honestly, between the two of us, I do interact with the animals, the chickens more. I honestly, if I could raise only one bird on our property, it would be the American Bresse. I would never, like, if it was up to me, I would only do the American Bresse. I would never do Cornish cross. I would never do olive eggers. I would never do any other chickens because to me, they have been, in our experience, going into our third year, the most productive bird. Not only are they the tastiest, but they start laying at 16 weeks. I do not start incubating their eggs until they're over 58 grams. That's a big thing that gets lost. So people that the people that actually get the birds from us, I tell them, you get birds from us, you get us too. Like, I give the advice I wish that we would have had 3 years ago. And not only do I give the advice that I wish that I would have had 3 years ago, but I make sure that meat is in my freezer so that then when they're getting their eggs or their pullets, I have meat for them to leave with to go taste, because this is a bird that you will never know what it tastes like unless you have to raise it, unless you get them for a muss. Yeah.
For me, it's a lot of things that go into the Cornish cross and the American Bresse. One is the mortality rate from brooder up to the time you harvest your chickens. With the Cornish cross, they're almost like smaller version of turkeys. They look for ways to die.
So stupid.
With the American Bresse, I mean, out of our flock of 79 that we just hatched out, where we thought somebody was going to pick them up, only like 2 died. And they was in the coldest part of the wettest part of our spring in Texas. A lot of people know that Texas is hot, but they don't realize we get about, in our area, we get about 42 inches of rain, and most of that is during the springtime, and our pastures just get flooded. Our American Bresse had no issues whatsoever. Towards the first part of, after the first or last frost, we got our Cornish cross. We got this weird rain season happen, and a lot of our coops, our meat, we do the Johnson Scovich tractors, the stress-free tractors. So I have even like 6-inch purchase for our birds to get up on top of.
I asked him to put those in there.
And we lost almost 40 out of 140 Cornish cross. We lost almost about 40 something birds from that, because they deal with the wetness and the cold, to get out, to have common sense to get out the perch. I wouldn't say they're stupid.
Yeah, they are.
But that's one of the things. With Cornish cross, also with Texas heat, you only could raise them during the first part of the year and towards the end of the year, or the first early part of spring and to the end of the summer, early part of fall, because they just get so hot.
It's very temperamental, based on the weather and the temperature.
Yeah, but with the American Bresse, we can raise them all year round. We can do a new batch every about 12 weeks, just rotating around. I mean, it's just us two, so we do normally anyway a large batch in the springtime, while another large batch during the summertime, and another batch during the towards the fall winter time frame. So, but the meat, everybody tasted Cornish cross. That's what's in the big box store, grocery store right now. But if you're a foodie, and
I will say that because we have done taste tests. The only I think regret I have in the taste test that we did is I really wish that we would have presented the food Cornish cross, and then our American Bresse, and not our pasture raised, because pasture raised Cornish cross tastes way better than what's in the store.
Oh yeah,
way better than what's in the store. So anybody that's indoctrinated into like what they're used to at the store is going to pick that because it's most familiar, it's juicy. But for those of us that are like raising these animals, American Bresse is like dark meat juicy.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, even the breast tastes like you're eating a juicy thigh. It's just so, I mean, you can't, it's hard to overcook it and still not, be dry. Well, that's even with pasture raised, it's kind of still hard to do that with even a pasture raised chicken.
There's a sweet spot for processing them. And this is a hot topic, even in the American Bresse groups that I'm in, is it seems like in the groups that I'm in that the sweet spot that other people are finding are where we already decided at 16 weeks. So at 14 weeks, we start them on the cracked corn, raw milk fermented feed. And we do that for 2 weeks at their finish out feed. And they are delicious. And we have compared the taste of a finished out on that finish out feed compared to one that we didn't do that on. And it tastes better.
Now, I have a question for y'all on that, because we were talking about what most people are used to from the grocery store is the Cornish cross. And as for people that know or have raised Cornish cross, you know that you feed them a 25% protein meat bird feed. You feed them 24/7 for the first couple of weeks, and then you do a 12 on, 12 off. You know, I mean, you can watch a video to get all the good juicy details on that. Do you do that with American Breast, or have you found that raising them on pasture is better tasting than feeding them quote unquote meat bird feed?
So, great question. So on the American Breast, we found that you still you started them off just like with any bird. The first 3 to 4 weeks, you just give them constant feed along with grit, because unlike most birds are not like mammals where we have teeth to grind up our food and stuff like that. The grits is going to help break down that food and help that feed conversion, give them the right nutrition for them. With the American Breast, we pasture raise them. They're great foragers. We have one flock right now in with a volunteer squash plant. They haven't even touched it. One time we even had them in with our volunteer raspberry bush.
We've always had them around. There's always been a volunteer watermelon, squash. They never mess with that like the egg layers would. So something I would say about them is that they're such great foragers that at some point, I want to say it's around 12 weeks, that you'll notice that they do not act like a Cornish cross. Like they do not. Vultures. They are not like that. They start foraging. They're much more interested in bugs. They're much more interested in foraging.
Yeah. So we're actually going to be doing a test because a lot of people think that you get more feed, or you spend more money on feed with the American Breast than with the Cornish cross. So I'm going to do a little test on how much feed do you actually spend on, and how much the feed of the birds actually consume.
And on that note, I've done calculated amounts. He and I were talking, and I texted you like what per bird, per weight, per bird, how much weight we were feeding them. It was a lot less on the American Breast per bird, the amount per day of that, even for the time frame, even for 16 weeks. He wants to do a calculated test to show people the calculated test, but just based on what we've done, they eat less than a meat bird.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you. First of all, it's my understanding that this breed came from France about 2011, but most of the bloodlines came from about 2017. So if people out there are listening and they're going, I never even heard of this chicken before. It is fairly new to the United States, though it is patriotic because it has red, white, and blue. And so that's kind of fun. But because you raised yours, you are harvesting some, but you're raising them all year round. What kind of egg production? Because they are a meat bird, but they do eggs. So on average, is it 200, 300? What kind of, if people want to raise them, what kind of production can they look for?
About 250. A year.
Yeah, 200 to 250 per year.
Yeah, because they start laying at 16 weeks. I don't when it comes to being a breeder, I don't care for those eggs incubation wise or anything like that until they're over 58 grams, but they're delicious. Less than that, it's a dual purpose bird. This is the first meat dual purpose. I love this bird more than.
Okay.
The eggs, they're medium to medium large, and they're range from the colors of white to opaque. So they're nothing fancy.
They're like taupe. I can show you. Do you want me to go grab some? Yeah, I'll go grab some real quick.
It's too bad for the people that are listening only can't look at it.
I was just about to say that, Sydney. But the good thing for us hosts is we get to see it, because anybody that has followed Ormsby Farms for a while know that we have started our meat business this year. And like everybody else, I heard about this American Bresse and how it was a dual purpose bird. And we have talked about many, many times, really on the last episode too, about homesteaders aim to be self-sustainable. And yes, you can buy the Cornish cross every year and you can fill your freezers, but you will never be able to produce Cornish cross on your homestead because they don't get to the age. And I will describe it for the people that are listening. They are maybe like a lighter tan, whitish. They look like some grocery store eggs, y'all. That's what I'm going to tell you. For those that are listening that have no video, it's like a white egg. They are large. I would say large. And 250 that's a good egg laying for the year. That means you have 250 chances to have another baby or another meat chicken in your freezer. Monica, do you want to add on to that?
No, I was just giving you like, yes, you're right. I was just hyping you up over here because I agree. Because I mean, I'm looking at like, okay, so if I am a new homesteader, but I want to have birds and I want to raise them for eggs, but it's only maybe me and Eric, and I don't need a ton of eggs, but I kind of want to know if I have an option to have meat if I need it. If it's not just a regular, hen that I have. If I have an option to say, okay, times are tough, I'm gonna need some meat, I'm gonna go out there and get me what I need. I think that's something that is a viable option if you're looking for some more of a sustainability wise. They would be a good option for someone who doesn't want to raise another source of meat but wants to stick with poultry. I think they're a great option for people in that case. Yeah.
Okay, another question for you. Now, I have always believed this, and maybe you just think I'm crazy, but do you think the soil, the minerals, the vegetation, the water, the feed, the climate affects the way the bird tastes? Because there are some French people out there that are very snotty that says theirs tastes better, but it's different. The soil is different. The micronutrients are different. And when you say you're ordering chicks in, and they're coming from Maine or one of the other companies around the country that sell them, the meat could be slightly different. But from everything I've read, that marbling effect that this bird has versus other chickens that you can literally render fat from. Tell us what you think about the differences that can happen.
So great question. So our main thing is soil quality first. We always try to produce soil, improve our soil. That's one of the main reasons why we rotational graze all of our animals. We have our we have our sheep go in front of the chickens. The chickens follow the sheep. Then the pigs follow the chickens and do a whole circle of life ordeal. Even with our we try to feed some of the rabbit poops to the chickens because they like to eat the maggots that go, especially around this time of year. Maggots is real. The flies are real bad this year for some strange reason. I'm not sure if it's the water.
It's all that rain we got.
But it's all in my opinion, I feel that it all starts with the soil, because once you have your soil is going to produce good vegetation and promote the good microbial and all the good microorganisms that's in the soil, which is what the animal is going to be feeding off of, and just basically that whole circle of life. So yes, I believe that the soil, it all starts with the soil, in my opinion, soil and the vitamin D from the sun.
So people that do like live in our region, I will piggyback and just say that if you are interested in this bird, it is best to get from somebody that is a breeder in your area within your growing zone, is what I think. And that is difficult because this is a newer breed. I feel like the last time I looked, we are the only like NPIP certified in our southern region. that has a lot of experience with them. But it's a saturated market. Like I've been hearing stories of people, like that's one thing I am proud of being like, I don't like being like super social media like stuff. But we have been very transparent with our process, right? People have seen like these are our birds. This is what we're doing. This is the weather that we're dealing with. This, like, so people in our area growing zone are gonna get the best rewards. We've had people drive 6-8 hours to get chicks and pullets from us.
Okay.
Okay, so could I ask just one more question, and then I won't say anything else? So when you're hatching, do you have specific times of the year that you want to hatch? Or is it just continuously that you're doing it? Because like here in the north, most of the time there's hatching in the springtime and then in the fall, but not the rest of the time. I'm just wondering what you guys do.
I'm still very, very careful about that. I only like to do it springtime, like nearing up to fall, because I like to take advantage just for natural resources of the heat that's going on outside, personally.
I like to do it early part of the year and the end of the part of the year if we're going to be butchering them, because we're in Texas and it gets hot.
Yeah, we're butchering.
And I certainly understand that as far as worrying about the heat and the hot and all those types of things and processing. Now, I don't know anything at all about meat birds except for what I've learned on social media here. And so I live on an acre of land, just under, it's like 99 point something that's an acre of land. But when you say pasture raised, that confuses me a little bit. I don't know what you mean by pasture raised. Do I keep these meat birds in a pen? Do I need Pier 1 or whatever that Premier 1 fencing stuff? What do I need? Monica, can you help me out with that?
I was about to
Okay,
say, that's
so-
a great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I will say that I know personally, just from seeing Tori and Sydney, they actually use a lot of that fencing with theirs, so they can like rotationally graze. They have pens and they've moved things. I think they've done a lot of trial and error with that. They have that fencing that that Premier 1 is easy for them to move. Now we let ours free range all over the place. They have free range of the whole property because I don't have time to section them off. But I have friends that put up permanent fencing and they section them off. If you put up a more permanent fencing, then you have the opportunity for them just to wear that land down constantly. So like Cayce,
Right.
I know you have a permanent fence, but you let yours kind of move around a little bit. Do you let yours go outside of that permanent fence?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. they know their home is inside that fence. I'm too fat to be chasing anybody outside of the fencing. But I did that area only because I want to use that soil, as Sandi was talking about, for my garden. So that whole area that they're put in, I'm going to use that garden or that soil for my garden in, let's just say, 2 to 3 years. So I keep them in one area. Now, Tori and Sydney, chime in on this. Do y'all prefer to use the fencing that is portable or fencing that is permanent for the American Bresse? And have you learned certain reasons why you prefer that type that you're about to say?
So we prefer the poultry netting because, like I said, we're all about improving our soil health. So we rotational graze our animals at least once a week, once to 2 times, or once
we
a
double
week,
up
or
our fences
once every 2 weeks.
To honestly, like with it being the two of us and we do not have child labor, Monica.
And
We just called it out here.
You know what? It's just called being resorceful, okay? I worked hard for those babies.
I'm as salty as I look. Okay.
I work hard for those babies. They can work hard for me, okay?
But we double up our fences. So one of the things I really like, and this is not to promote, but we do have, we are affiliated with Gallagher fences. I like them more. And I know that a lot of people, what is that other one? The Premier one. But it's not as long. It's like 100 linear foot.
They actually have 164.
Do they now? Okay, so they have changed. Okay, so I would compare. There was a time when it was just 100 linear foot one, and Premier one had that, and then Gallagher had 164, and then like an 80 something. But we are affiliated with them. I do really like that. We also have sheep. We were able to successfully have sheep utilizing that netting as well. Since then, we have, because being affiliated and stuff, we got the sheep netting, the turbo sheep netting, which I like for the sheep, but the actual like poultry netting you can use for a bunch of different animals, even like the pigs, So when we were training the pigs, we were able to train them behind that same netting. And we like that because it gives us the flexibility. Like even if you think you're going to have permanent structures, unless you've lived on your property for 2 to 3 years in Texas, you do not know where your flood zones are. You do not know where your weak points are. And you really should have something outside of permanent structures to give yourself the freedom to move your animals in safe spaces. That is my advice.
All right. Is it? I have another question. Being a newbie and not knowing anything about anything, is it possible to raise them like right now? I mean, we started out with 8 little chickens, and they're barnyard chickens, and they're just my girls. But and we love their eggs all the time. So I would eat them if I was starving, but not before that. Or maybe my grandbabies would have to be starving. I don't know. I could still maybe eat grass or something, but I digress. As far as, is it possible, because I live on an acre of land and it has a house and various things on it, to raise meat chickens in a pen? Is it possible?
Would not.
You could, but you for on an acre, I would do it in very small batches, maybe 10 to 20. You have to, once again, you have to go by what your main goal is to when you're raising a animal. If it's for a quick process or something like that, I would go with the Cornish cross. Each animal has its pros and cons. There's no perfect true animal. That's why a lot of people crossbreed with other different types of chickens, sheep, cows, and stuff, because they want a good quality of something for another one. But for an acre, I would start something small, maybe 10 to 20.
I was thinking maybe 10. Yeah. And so how old do your American breasts have to be? Because see, I'm thinking about, I have to sneak this. So I would have to sneak it. I can sneak it for 10 weeks.
Yeah. And your setup, an American breast would probably be a better situation for you. Because here's the thing, and nobody wants to talk about this, but the Cornish cross, they poop like you would not believe.
They're pooping machine.
They are disgusting. Like,
that's what I hear.
They will sit and they will like try to marinate in their own poop. Okay. That's the Cornish cross.
Yeah. It gets to a point when you're doing Cornish cross,
and the fly is disgusting.
It gets to a point when you're doing Cornish cross, you almost have to move them 3 times a day.
Oh.
But if you had if Miss Ann had a mobile tractor that was something that her and her husband could pull, and she had only like 10 American breasts, that is something that
Yeah.
feasibly she could do on 1 acre
Mhm.
over the course of 16 weeks.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And she can, and now obviously the first month, well, how long would you keep them in a smaller space when they're little? Because I
'Cause, I
think
mean,
Miss
they're
Ann's idea too is
babies.
about predators. You know, we are
Yeah.
very concerned about predators since there's been an attack prior.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
a concern. When you have predator issues and you're in a space like that, that's where the concern is of raising them in a space. So when would you put them outside and start to move them?
So I would do full. Well, what we normally do is 3 weeks in the brooder, and then we'll put them out onto the grass and leave them in the brooder. Don't let them free ranging for about up till they get to the 2 month mark,
Okay.
and then, or actually about a month and a half mark, and
Depending
then
on the weather.
yeah.
And American Bresse are very, it's a very hardy bird. And like for them, because they go for like 16 weeks, I think you could really get away with a mobile coop like we were discussing, and then
Mhm.
putting either a 60 some odd or a 164 linear foot netting around them and just moving within that space. Because we've done that ourselves with our meat birds that we're
Mhm.
about to process. Like we didn't move
Mhm.
them as much. We actually kept them in certain areas that were less than an acre. So like we're about to process over 40 something
Mhm.
that were
Right.
raised in way less than an acre space.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just, it would have to be on the down low to be able to have them
On
in
the
our area.
DL. Now, I have a question for that for people that are like Anne.
And they're newbies and they're wanting to know more about this. People that are really interested in starting meat birds, starting the
There.
American Bresse, and they're on a smaller space. Is that where you're going, Cayce?
Yes, that's where I was going for it. Is I want to, y'all know here out here in the Georgia, my internet is fabulous, and I ain't scared to call it out on the podcast. Neither AT&T. But what is the size? My question, basically, long story short, is what is the size at 16 weeks that these American Breasts are processed, done, ready for the freezer? Like we've processed, we've defeathered, we've done everything. What is a size that we can tell our viewers that are listening that they're going to get out of this American Bresse compared to the Cornish cross or another meat breed?
So this is the size that Sydney and Tori you have in the stores right there in Paris, right? So you have
Not we only have the Cornish cross because we have
okay.
to process our own.
Okay.
Now we can still do process.
We haven't
on.
found a processor
Got
that
it.
is close enough to actually USDA process our American Bresse yet. So
Okay.
those things we have been processing ourselves and
Okay.
sell from the homestead
Mhm.
when people buy them.
So, but
Okay, so what's that size?
is about 4 pounds, anywhere from 3.5 to about 4.25 pounds.
Which for us as empty nesters is perfect for
That's a
us.
good size bird. That's a very good size bird. That's a Walmart size bird. Not even that.
Gallon marinating bag for me. Like I love, like even if Cornish cross, like we prefer them to be 4.5 pounds whole if we do that because they fit in that gallon bag for the marinating and all the stuff I like to do to cook them.
Yeah, that makes sense because I think that's what people are looking at too, right? It's easy to go to Costco, it's easy to go to Walmart, pick you up a bag of the lemon hunt pepper chicken and take it home. I mean, seriously, that's people are looking for convenient. But
Yeah.
if you're not doing convenient in that way and you want to raise your own and you want quality, you want to know what you're putting in your food, you want to know what's been in your meat before you eat it, this is a great option. And this is something that you can do. As long as you've done your research and you have yourself some mentors and people that are ready to kind of help you out, and you can do it.
And that's a great size also for canning. I mean, when you get the chickens a little bit bigger, such as the 6-pounders or the 7-8-pounders, it's hard to get all the meat in your quart jar that you want to have for a good, solid canned chicken. But y'all, we could sit and talk about this American breast probably for another 4 or 5 hours.
Absolutely.
But we want to thank Tori and Sydney so much for coming back for another 2 episodes. They've been here for 2 of our meat episodes. We are so thankful for that. And we hope that you go over and check out their YouTube channel for more information on this topic, because they are such a wealth of knowledge on the American breast, which is breast without a T. And we hope that you tune in Friday for our live radio show. Hopefully we're able to steal maybe one of them. They're both very, very busy people. Maybe we can have their picture up as we're talking about them. On our live radio show, we'll be talking more about the meat chickens and meat birds on that Friday show. But until then, make sure you are liking and subscribing to all of our channels. Go ahead and listen to all of our previous podcast episodes, and we will see you on next Monday's episode. We'll be talking more about canning. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that. Until then, bye y'all, bye.
Are you enjoying the Hay Bale topics? To learn more, click on the LinkTree link to get all of our product recommendations along with discount codes and more.